wear brown and orange, you don't matter.
Let this be a reminder to you all that this organization will not tolerate failure.
Well, buddy boy, I want you to get excited here.
With the first pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Baker Mayfield.
Okay, listen up, people. I'm going to turn you clowns into a football team.
To the best fans, the most patient fans in the league, the Browns are going to win.
When I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
So, Kevin, you know what we have here. Do you understand what it is that we're doing today, right now, at this very moment?
So it's one cup, but there's two girls. No, that's later.
No, that's later. That's later. That's after show. That's at the after show. We are now celebrating the 8th Victory Monday of the season.
That's like 5, but then 3 more.
Exactly. That's exactly correct. 6 plus 2, 1 plus 7. However you want to come to the number.
We're there.
8 wins, the first non-losing Cleveland Browns season since 2007.
That's almost a winning season.
Almost a winning season. And we're going to, listen, that's going to happen. We're going to get there. We're definitely getting at least one more win, and we're probably going to get a couple more than that.
I mean, at this rate, the Ravens game could end up being a forfeit for all we know.
Kevin, I'm going to throw out a sentence to you, and I want you on a level of an absurdity scale. From 1 to 10, absurdity scale, I want you to tell me how absurd this sentence is to you.
Okay.
After Week 11, the Cleveland Browns and the Green Bay Packers are both 8-3.
On a scale of 1 to 11, I would give that Pluto.
Nobody would expect such a thing to be taking place.
It's like the Spanish Inquisition.
Now. It's but I tell you what, I'm excited. It's good to see. Once again, there's a bunch of negative Nancy's out there poo-pooing the fact that we played the Jaguars. I'm just to the point where I don't care about any of that.
The Jags aren't that bad of a team, though. They're not that bad.
Yeah, they are. They're a really really terrible team. But you know what? They were able to do the one thing that I thought that they were going to be able to do. The one thing that scared me, and I mentioned this briefly, once again, we had a ton of injuries and a ton of problems with our defense. The secondary was just completely decimated yet again. Redwine was out. We had Greedy Williams still out. He hasn't played all year. Ward was out. It was literally just a bunch of nobodies and practice squad guys back there. And coupled with the fact that Myles Garrett was also out in this game, I know that the Jaguars were starting Mike Glennon, and he's a pretty terrible quarterback because he's a journeyman nobody, and there's a reason he's been a journeyman nobody. But when you can't get any pressure on a quarterback and he's throwing the ball against practice squad level players in the secondary, he's going to be able, even a guy like Mike Glennon is going to be able to find some success. And that's exactly what wound up happening. He made some plays. He played very well for them yesterday, in spite of who he is. And he gave the Browns a much closer game than what a lot of people would have liked. But that's kind of the way that I thought it was going to go, considering how hurt we were there on defense. And we were really hurting on defense. There's no other way to put it. I don't want to make excuses for these guys, but our secondary's been bad all year. We know that. So I keep calling them the first dairy. And to see what was coming wasn't all that difficult. But nonetheless, the Browns did what they needed to do. They got the win. We're 8-3, same record as your Green Bay Packers, and we're looking at we're staring at some postseason possibilities here, Kevin.
Oh.
Possible postseason berth.
I have never seen someone jinx their team so easily before.
I don't like talking about the P word because it's just something that we don't do. But I'm confident in this team right now, and just the way that things are shaking out in the AFC. We've talked about it. It's very, very strong in the AFC this year. There's some really good teams out there. The Browns really got some help though yesterday because the Colts lost. That was big for them. The Raiders also lost. And we still don't know what is going to happen with Baltimore because this is a completely ridiculous situation, Kevin. I don't know if you've even had time to look, but it was just announced right before the show start that this game has been postponed again.
Wednesday.
Till Wednesday. This is the third time this is getting postponed now. I don't understand exactly what the NFL is thinking or why they're going about doing it this way, especially once we saw what happened with the Bills too and that whole situation. And I genuinely felt bad for the Bills and for that poor guy that had to play quarterback. You talk about practice squad players. That's exactly what the Bills had. They had a practice squad player.
Broncos?
He was a quarterback in college. He was converted to wide receiver, so he was a practice squad wide receiver.
Wasn't that the Broncos though? Not the Bills.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the Bills. I'm sorry. The Broncos. That's what I was talking about. I misspoke. But yeah, I mean, he comes off and he's got to start. His first NFL game is as a starting quarterback, and it went about as well as you would expect something like that to go. It was terrible for him. I think he went like 1 of 9, 2 interceptions, and I think they had 112 yards of total offense. So it was a terrible situation, and I don't understand why the NFL was so basically just stuck it to Denver and was like, yeah, because they asked them, hey, can we postpone this game? Because our other quarterbacks are testing negative right now. You got to have the protocol is so many days in a row, I guess. You have to test negative before you're cleared to play. And they said, hey, can we move this thing to Tuesday? And Goodell was like, no, you're playing. Play the game. And yet we see the Steelers now and the Ravens, they're on their third postponement. And the Ravens have a full-blown outbreak on their team right now. I mean, there are some people, they just had another player test positive today. It's the 9th consecutive day for the Ravens that they've had a player test positive for COVID. And they're up to 28 players, I believe was the last count. 28 players total in the last week who have tested positive for COVID. The NFL needs to step in here, and the league that's always talking about the safety of their players,
right?
They need to stop being so pig-headed about things. Cancel this game for now. Put it on the back burner until at the end of the season. They flexed into their schedule an extra week, and that's what this is. They just don't want to have a week 18 right now. Right. But they need to understand that it's like pretty. They should do this and just be done with it and move on. And they're not. So I don't understand the NFL's thinking or why they're doing things. They're certainly not consistent at all. Not that shocks me in the least, especially coming from an office like Roger Goodell's. But it's a very, very strange situation all the way around.
Well,
but nonetheless,
it gets even screwier too because one, the whole Monday night doubleheader thing is dumb. Stop doing that.
Right.
And now two. So next week. Week 13, the Steelers play on Monday night, and now the Ravens game has been moved to next Tuesday.
Right.
Which is also dumb. Because I get that from a player safety perspective, playing Wednesday and Sunday is very dumb. Don't do that.
Yeah, you can't do that. You absolutely can't do that. I mean, having them play on a Wednesday and then play on a Monday is pretty ridiculous unto itself.
Right.
But at some point you need to make a decision though, and I think what they need to do, I mean, just cancel it and let these teams prepare for the next teams that are coming up.
Right.
And it's just to me it's very poor management by the NFL, by Roger Goodell. Obviously we are in very, very unprecedented times right now, not only in our country, but everywhere. Everybody is dealing with this, and other sports leagues and other industries and other people are all dealing with this in ways that are trying to be for the best for everybody, I think, and Roger Goodell's not doing that. And I personally, I don't understand it. I don't see why it's necessary. And the NFL is no different than anything else in the country. Obviously, we're seeing a surge in cases across the country, and we're seeing it surging in the NFL as well. I think the NFL was really hoping that they could get through this year without any hiccups. And it was good up until now. But obviously, being the team sport that it is, the high contact sport that it is, you got 22 guys on the field that are running into each other every play. It's not basketball. You can't have these guys in a bubble. You can't do the same thing like what hockey did and have these guys living in a bubble. It's too difficult to do. You have incredibly large rosters.
It's just too many people. Exactly. And not just
you got
rosters, coaching staff, trainers.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just far too much to try to contain, and I think we're seeing that. So I don't know how it's all going to shake out. But again, it does kind of help the Browns in some ways because again, you don't know what's going to happen with Baltimore, and they were behind us. So getting back full circle to where this whole thing started, when the Browns are starting to look down the road a little bit now to the end of the season, we got 5 games left here. We've kind of built a little bit of that cushion up now. We've got a little, it's not a lot of breathing room, but there is a little bit of breathing room. The Browns control their own destiny. And that's the most important thing. It is they're driving the car here. If they just take care of business, they're in the playoffs, and there's nothing that's going to stop that from happening. Now we do have a tougher schedule coming up. Well, we finally stop with the the little sisters of the poor of the league.
Wow.
We're actually
little sisters of the poor.
We're gonna play. That's an old Ohio State quote for Ohio State fans. They'll remember our president saying that line. I'll bring it up to you at another point. It's funny actually, but yeah, we got to play some real teams now. Starting with the Titans, they're coming into this game now. I believe they just took the division lead from the Colts after the Colts lost yesterday. So now you have a division winner coming in. They're certainly going to be a lot tougher now. Most of our games left are on the road as well. So the Browns have got some adversity coming up here as the season kind of finishes out. So it's not going to be easy, but we do still have to play the Giants and their bums. And we have a couple of other things in our favor. Here's the schedule coming up now, and that Ravens game, I don't even know if we're going to be able to play that Ravens game.
Right.
With the way things are going. But we do still have the Giants and the Jets. God bless them all. What, more little sisters of the poor right there. But yeah, so it's the next 2 weeks are going to be tough, specifically for the Browns. We do get Baltimore at home. If that game does take place, we do at least have them at home, and it would be nice to be in a really good position to just close things out. As we get to the end of the year here, the Steelers game, who knows how important that's going to be, if it's going to be important at all. I personally think that that's going to be an important game for either team. At that point, more than likely, the Steelers are going to have this thing, pretty sewn up. They're going to play some starters for maybe a quarter, and that'll be it. And hopefully by then, the Browns kind of have their seed locked in too. If you're talking about you're not going to win the division, so you're talking about a wild card spot. Does it matter if you're the 3rd seed or the 5th seed, at that you're in. It doesn't. Yeah. It's the playoffs. It doesn't really matter. And the only seeding that really matters is if you're that 1st seed and you get to rest, you get that bye. And obviously there's home field involved, and that could be something that factors into it. We don't know what the case is going to be with Kansas City. The Steelers might have something to play for still if they drop a couple games here, which I just don't know if they're going to do.
Right.
Look, this is another thing, too, I wanted to bring up specifically about the Steelers, too, Kevin, because we're talking about the Brown schedule and the way that people poo-poo them and, but they're not playing anybody. They're playing a bunch of bums and it's a bunch of – the Steelers play the exact same schedule that we do.
Right.
the exact same schedule, the same opponents. They have to play the NFC East too. I'm not taking anything away from Pittsburgh. They're a good football team. They throttled us. I'm not saying otherwise. But everybody is just like, oh, they look amazing. They're completely unstoppable. Look at them. They're undefeated and blah, blah. Yeah, well, they're playing a bunch of bums too. They've played a bunch of really scrub football teams, and they beat our ass. So I'm not taking anything away from them, but it's just something that irritates me. The Browns are 8-3, and everybody's like, they're not that good. They didn't play anybody. Steelers are 10-0, and they're like, oh, the most dominant football team to ever come out in the history of the universe. I'm like, settle down there. We're playing the same team. It's the same schedule. So I don't get how you're coming to these wildly different conclusions. But I digress. I just wanted to gripe about the way that my Brownies are unfairly treated. So that's
it's so unfair.
It's very unfair. I'm against it. So Kevin, let's get into let's do a little good, bad, and ugly here.
A little good, bad, and ugly. Let's take a look at the
little good, bad, and ugly
here.
Good
here, if the computer wants to cooperate. There it goes.
Oh, hey, there we go. Yeah, look at my boy Baker. That's right, Baker haters. You guys can all suck it. Once again, a bunch of complaining about him I'll get to in a second. But first non-losing season since 2007. Who is not excited about that? Also, that year, Kevin, the Browns went 10-6 and missed the playoffs. So hopefully the same thing doesn't repeat itself. Jarvis had himself a game yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
He had himself a game. Just turned 30 years old. It was his birthday. And he went out there and put on a show. He had like 8 catches, 140 yards or something. He went off the hook, man. He was catching everything thrown his way. I got B.J. Goodson on there because he made a couple of good plays in this game, but he had one really huge pass breakup at the goal line and prevented the Jaguars from getting a touchdown. It was probably the play of the game, considering the way that it ended too. It may very well have been. So he's up there for that. And then Nick Chubb, again, we've all year. It's more of the same from Nick Chubb. Just grinding.
No surprise that he's there.
No, none at all. Because he did what Nick Chubb do, and he was just giving it to us and producing. And once again, we saw where once that fourth quarter starts to roll around, it starts wearing out the defense of that other team, and that's really when Chubb and Kareem Hunt both, where they just come alive in the fourth quarter, and it happened again. And it's really just it's week after week after week after week, and I love seeing it. I don't get frustrated if they're getting shut down in the first or second quarters. I don't get upset. It doesn't even bother me because I know if they just keep going to that well, eventually that fourth quarter is going to roll around and the defense is going to be tired and they're going to be really, really tired of hitting them both. And then they run out of gas, and then Nick and Kareem both just light up, and they hit the gas and it's over.
Mm-hmm. So I know you were a little frustrated with some of the early pass play calling in the game. Now, to play devil's advocate and to think that maybe Kevin Stefanski knows what he's doing, do you think part of that is to keep them from getting too beat up early in the game so that they've got fresh legs later on?
I mean, it could be, but to me, and listen, I want to preface this by saying that Kevin Stefanski has been probably the most consistent and better adjusting head coaches that we've had in the 20 years since the Browns have been back. He's been the best at it. The way that he can make adjustments and fix things and move the offense, and the decision-making is great. I don't want to take anything away from Kevin Stefanski because, again, prior to my episode last year, prior to that, I am totally and completely in his quarter. He has proven himself to me this year, and I am behind him. And as a guy who is,
except for earlier in the game on Twitter yesterday, you're behind him.
I did, because I was frustrated. I am still a fan. I didn't understand it. I don't get it. It's what our identity is. It's what we do. Come out, run the ball. And it just we had an opportunity to really set the tone for the game, and we just came out flat in that first series. And it didn't make any sense to me to just have Baker go back. And again, people are going to beat up on Baker. So Baker had a good game. I don't know what people really want or expect. I mean, 19 to 29, 258 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He had a great game, but I just don't like seeing him throwing on first down. I just don't like starting things off like that. It felt stale, and obviously it resulted in a 3 and out. So I don't know. I questioned it, and I kind of feel stupid about it now, I guess, because we won. But I like to see us starting off doing what we do best,
right?
To open up a game, especially when we have the ball first too. We're trying to really set the tone for the whole game, and you want to take it right to them, and you do that with what you do best, with your bread and butter. You give it to Kareem, you give it to Chubb, and you roll the dice from there. So there was a gripe, but I'm not going to beat. Again, I'm not beating up Kevin Stefanski at all for it. I'm behind him. I'm behind him. I'm behind his decision making. I like the way that he runs and operates this team, and it's so refreshing because it's not anything that I'm used to, that any other Browns fans have been used to for a very long time. So it's great to see. It's great to be part of it. I'm not going to give him too hard of a time about it. But yeah, I did. I was throwing a little bit of a fit. I threw more of a fit at the end of the game, which we will get to momentarily here, than I did at the beginning of the game. I'll tell you that. That's true. And then, again, with Baker, too, listen, I know that people are going to gripe, like I mentioned. I just threw out his stats. He had a great game. He played a really, really good game. He did make a terrible, terrible, terrible throw in the end zone. He missed a wide open receiver. I don't know. I honestly don't know what he was doing. He double clutched, and then he moved. Like, I think he was expecting pressure to be coming in on him, and there was nobody around him. You know what I mean? He double clutched, and then he threw off his back foot. The throw sails, and you've if you ask him, right? He even said so. He admitted as much in post game. With the media, he said, "Hey, that's on me. It's just a bad play." So what do? I mean, you can't. It's not the end of the world. He came back on the very next series and threw an absolute dart for a touchdown. I mean, and I think that's a lot of times, Kevin, where the frustration with Baker Mayfield also comes in. You and I have talked on, many times throughout the year where, it's kind of, he's a gunslinger type quarterback, and he's going to have a lot of INTs, but he's also going to have a lot of touchdowns, and that's the type of, a guy that he's going to be. Cleveland's going to have to accept that. I think one of the other things that frustrates people about Baker Mayfield is they see that garbage throw in the end zone, and you're like, dude, what are you doing? How do you not score there? Like, how do you throw a pass that's that terrible? And then on the next series, you see Baker Mayfield just spinning it, and he is putting the ball in places where nobody else but the receiver can catch it. I mean, he is putting mustard on it. He's throwing them in places where there aren't even any windows. And people see both things of those from Baker Mayfield throughout the course of a game, and it's very, very frustrating for them because they don't understand, dude, how can you make this awesome throw or that awesome throw, and then you go out and you throw up a garbage lame duck pass that goes incomplete or gets picked off. So I understand that part.
Brett Favre made a career of it,
Well, yeah, and that's. I think that's who I've compared him to the most. Not talent level. Again, I'm not saying, Baker Mayfield's enough preference. I'm not saying that. But the mentality. The style of play, the mentality, the thought process, and people are just gonna have to get used to that. You're gonna have games where we had today where Baker goes for 250 yards, 2 touchdowns. You're gonna have games where he did a few weeks ago when he had 21 straight completions and 5 touchdowns, and you're gonna have games where Baker Mayfield is gonna go 12 of 30 for 120 yards and 4 interceptions, and we're going to lose in an ugly game. It's just the way it's going to be, and people have to accept that. And the one thing that I will say that I do absolutely love about Baker is he loves being out there, and he is constantly behind this team. He is always cheering on this team. He wants to win. The passion is there. The fire is there. The will to win is there. The leadership is there. He does what he does, and you either like it or you don't. I don't think that we're ever going to get to a point now where everybody's going to be like, Baker's the greatest thing ever, unless he wins a Super Bowl. That's the only way you get everybody to shut up now.
Well, and even then. No, but to go back to what you were saying before about some of his post-game comments, That to me was the most interesting, because it's very easy for a quarterback to come out in those post-game press conferences, win or lose, and be like, it's a tough game, it's hard, everybody plays, I missed some throws today. But he owned it. He said, no, those are the throws that I have to make. I need to do better. And that's, when you're talking about a leader of a team, that's what you want. Because when your leader goes out there and says, I can do better, that wasn't good enough. Everyone else on the team has to look at themselves and say, did I do good enough? What can I do better?
He says, I can do better, and I will. He said, I will, and that's all you want. That's all you can ask for out of your leader.
Absolutely.
And so, I completely agree. On his post-game presser too, Baker did have another thing. A lot of people didn't catch this. If I can, I'll try to post it. Maybe to the Twitter feeds, to our Twitters and stuff. By the way, everybody look at all those fancy things down at the bottom of the screen there. So click on them and, do all the social media stuff, do the likes and do the subscriptions and all of that. But I'll try to get this thing posted of Baker where he's doing the cadence, and the Jacksonville defensive line all shifts over to the left. And Baker pauses, and he basically yells at the entire line. He goes, "That's real fucking cute, guys." What are you doing? And they asked Baker about it in the post game press conference. They were like, at one point they said what he said and what happened, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't remember that. I don't know what you're talking about."
Never happened.
You know for a fact that he knew
knows exactly what you're talking
about. What they were talking, because he said it. I mean, it was clear as day. Like, they shift over, and he's like, "Oh, that's real fucking cute, guys." And that's that Baker mentality. That's that that's the type of guy he is. He came out. He was like that in college. He came out. And everybody said that he's real cocky. And to his credit, he really toned it down a lot this year. He has been very, very quiet. He's been very, very businesslike. But inside that locker room and inside that huddle and clearly on that field, Baker Mayfield is still that same guy. He is still Baker Mayfield. He's got that same mentality. And for me, I have always loved that mentality. I like it. It's some people are going to call it arrogance, and to be honest, maybe it is a little bit. But when you've been as successful as Baker Mayfield has, you kind of get to be able to do it. He was humbled last year, I think, and that quieted him down off the field a whole lot. But he's still that guy on the field and in that huddle. And again, that's a testament to what kind of a leader Baker is. So that's just something that made me laugh. If you get a chance to see it, Kevin, you should check it out because it's amusing. I'll try to get it on our Twitter feed after the show here today.
Once social media just shows you how to tweet.
Oh yeah, and don't forget to please check out all the. I'm sure that there's some fantastic things happening on the Twitters now.
There are many people are making fun of my grammar. It's fantastic. You come in here and talk on a mic for things you don't know about.
Don't make fun of Kevin's grammar.
Oh, she's making fun of you too. Don't worry.
Oh well, yeah. It's fine. It's
So I will say the two of us know how to spell Favre correctly.
Yes, we do. It is Favre.
There it is. Anyway, moving on. Let's look at the things that do upset you about yesterday's game, or did upset, if we need to be grammatically correct all the time. Once the computer catches up here, there it is, folks.
Okay, there we go. I'm putting him up here again, even though he's a star of our team, and the star of the first area, Andrew Sendejo here. The defense, I'm not going to beat up on our defense too much because, again, they were just really, really hurting in this game and missing stars all over the place. So they did the best that they could with what they had here. But this guy, it's game 11, Kevin.
Game 11.
Week 11. Week 11, 11th game of the year. Sendejo has played every single defensive snap as a starting safety for this team. And yesterday, he got his first pass defense of the entire season.
I hope they kept the ball for him. Really mark the occasion.
The entire team should autograph it and then give it back to him and let him have it. To put things in perspective, not this past Sunday, but the week before, J.J. Watt had 4 passes defensed in one game, and he's a defensive lineman.
Right.
He had 4 in one game.
He also has more interceptions than Sendejo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he,
touchdowns.
Everybody was everybody was giving Sendejo like a round of applause yesterday because on the 2-point conversion at the end of the game, he intercepted the ball even though it was in the back of the end zone and he was out of bounds and it didn't matter. He didn't have to do anything on the play because nothing was happening.
Yeah.
I give him no credit whatsoever for that play. He had nothing to do with it. It was just a bad throw by Glennon because that's what he does and who he is. So, I put it on poor play of Mike Glennon than I do Andrew Sendejo. But, again, we got to come up with some kind of an award, like an internet football talk equivalent of a Raspberry Award, like a Golden Razzie or whatever, something like that, because that's terrible. And it's game 11 before you get your first pass defense, and he's awful. Luckily, though, I didn't see him flailing about. I didn't talk about him specifically doing really terrible things in the game. So I guess he played probably the best game that he's played as a Brown.
Yeah, I think that, either he was so far out of frame that you missed him, or he was actually maybe playing some decent coverage. Well, it could have been a little column A, little column B, Yeah,
he could have just been hanging around 25 yards off the ball all game. That's certainly possible as well. That's my bad, though. What do we got for the ugly?
Oh, the ugly.
Because we all know what it is.
And the computer will catch up here in 3, 2, 1. I think I know what I did wrong with these graphics this week that's making him sit on this freeze here. So we'll fix it for next week, folks.
Hey, there we go. So I'm just going to lay this out here. The ugly was exactly this. The officiating and the way that this game ended. I have no idea what took place. I have no idea what these guys were thinking. It's almost as if they were doing everything in their power to give this football game to the Jacksonville Jaguars and do everything that they possibly could to keep the Cleveland Browns from getting this win. There's no excuse for anything that we saw, the way that it, all unfolded. I was texting with obviously multiple people. Pastor Sean and I were like, we were texting each other. We're like, what the hell is happening here? What is going on? And we'll set this up too. Kevin, it's the fourth quarter.
Yes.
We're up 27-19. We got an 8-point lead. There's like 6 minutes left to go in this game. It's 2nd and 2 from the Jacksonville 23-yard line. Now, Kareem Hunt has a great run. For a 2-yard run, it's a great run because he moves his body going forward, never touches the ground. He easily gets this first down. Now, when it happened live, I saw them backing the ball up. I'm like, what are you doing? Clearly, he got this, easily. So inevitably, they go to a review. They review it. They get done. They say, hey, Stefanski, you're right. He did make this run. The referee says, we're going to spot the ball at the 21-yard line, and then we're going to measure it. They then proceed to not spot the ball at the 21-yard line. Which is where the Browns needed to get to. They needed to get to the 21. And if you pull up the picture, the screenshot that we have here, you can see like where the football or where the chain actually is. That little hash mark that the chain is sitting on is literally the 21-yard line. So if they would have spotted the ball where they said they were going to at the 21-yard line, this easily is a first down. There's no discussion of it. There's no talk. There's no nothing because Kareem Hunt clearly made it. But you can see that the ball wasn't spotted on the 20. They spotted behind it. But you can see the nose of the ball going past the chain stick. Like, it's there. If you were to, that's a straight on line. If you were to draw a line here on where this hashtag or hash mark is as well, you would see that this is clearly a first down. I don't know what anybody doesn't see. And then all of a sudden they say, yeah, you're short.
Right.
And what? No, there's no shortage of any kind here. Mike Yuva, who's our sports guy at the station that we work at, Kevin, he texts me and he says, "What the hell is that?" He said, "What's that?" He's like, "I've never seen something like that before." I'm like, "Of course you haven't, Mike. You're a Patriots fan. You're used to winning." I'm like, "Welcome to rooting for the Browns. This is what happens. This is what happens to us." So nonetheless, it's not a first down. We run another play. Now it's fourth down. I don't know why Kevin Stefanski doesn't just kick a field goal here at this point, because we're right there. It is one of those things where I kind of question him a little bit again, but I do see where he's thinking as well, though, because if you get this first down, the game is essentially over.
Right.
We can run that clock down even more. We're definitely going to get some points out of it. This game is over. He just wants to end it. I get that. And you only need to get like an inch to get this first down.
Not even.
And we run another play, and we get it, and they say that we didn't. So now we turn the ball over on downs. Jacksonville takes the ball down the field. Now they're in fourth down. We stack him. We step up. We sack him. Now this game is over. Oh, wait, no. We're going to call you for roughing the passer and saying helmet-to-helmet contact on Olivier Vernon. And you watch the replay, and he barely even touches the man's head. Certainly not anything egregious, but at this point in the game, that's the call you're going to make. I mean, they gave it to him. They handed Jacksonville this drive and this score, and they tried to damn near hand him the game. Luckily, though, the 2-point conversion failed. The Browns did recover. We get the ball
Thanks
back.
to our good friend
and then,
Sendejo.
Yeah, his stellar play in that end zone.
No, he wasn't in the end zone. He was out of bounds, but that's okay.
But it was one of the most absurd things that I have seen in quite some time. And obviously, I was screaming. I was yelling. I know everybody in the city of Cleveland was yelling. Pastor Sean was yelling. Mike Yuva was yelling, because Yuva bet on the Browns to win. He picked us in his suicide pool, so he's really pulling for the Browns. I warned him to never bet on the Browns again, by the way, because that's just bad news all the way around. You don't want that to happen. But everybody, the text that I was getting and everything that we're seeing, online and people talk, it was just outrageous. So. Yeah, they're definitely getting the ugly from me on this, because I've never seen anything like that before.
It was spectacularly bad. I won't say that I haven't seen anything like it before, because I had to watch that replacement refs game between the Packers and Seattle, where it was called both a touchdown and a touchback by two different officials at the same time.
Yeah, that's true. I do remember that, and that's what
that's not burned into my soul or anything.
We're like, yeah, we're done with these guys. We're going to get the regular refs back now. The Browns did have a situation like this too, actually. We played the Steelers, and I cannot remember what year this was in. Anybody watching, checking this out later, feel free to tell me when this happened or correct me here. But we were playing the Steelers, and it was fourth down. The Browns went for it. They spotted the ball. They came out with the chains. They measured. The chains went like in the middle of the football, in the middle of the football, and the refs are like, "No, you're short. Turnover on downs. Steelers football." So it's not the first time that I've seen something like this happen. That Steelers one was even more egregious than this one even was, because that ball was literally, it was like the sticks were in the middle of the football, and they're like, "No, you're short. Sorry, Steelers football." We're like, "What the hell? What are you talking about?" So yeah, I don't have any explanation to that. It was terrible to see and watch. It was terrible officiating, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't like to sit here and be the guy who's like, "Oh, these games are rigged," and the refs are trying to do this, and they're getting their direction from New York. But when you see the way that game ended yesterday, I'm like, what are you guys trying to do here? Are you really just trying to give them a football game? Because we've won this thing. We won that football game like 4 damn times when we really should have only had to do it once.
I mean, you could have put it away better sooner, but to your point, it did get pretty ridiculous at the end there.
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad it's over. I'm glad we were able to get the hell out of there, get the win, move on. 8-3, victory Monday, playoff spot looming, all that. Yeah, playoff Monday. I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm sure Jessica's making fun of me for that one too.
She said she didn't even know you knew how to pronounce egregious.
Oh, I do. I know a lot of really big words, like firefighter and stuff. Those are I can do that. So what else do we have here?
It's going to take. Where do you want to go first?
Well, let's see. Do you want to watch like the second half of Titanic while we wait for this? Like right when like in the intermission, like right when they hit the iceberg.
I'm just gonna call up whatever graphic I want, and you're just gonna have to talk about it.
When they hit the iceberg, that's when they go to the intermission. That's halfway point of the movie. Yeah. So we could probably watch that entire second half of the movie, and right when he gets off the door,
and you can draw me like one of your French girls, and.
All right. Again, Baker, I put him up there because he led us to the win. Nick Chubb, for obvious reasons. Jarvis just going off, man. He caught everything. I mean, this is the type of game I expect to see from Jarvis Landry. I think we all do. He's had some struggles a little bit recently. A couple cases of the drop C's. And that was just not the case whatsoever today or yesterday rather. He was just a man on fire, and that's what I want to see from him for the rest of this year, man. Because we need it, especially with Odell being out. This is the type of game that you want to see from Jarvis, and the type of performance you want to be able to to lean on. And then the doghouse, the same, the first dairy, because they were torched again by Mike Glennon of all people.
They're going to be that doormat just all season long.
They are, unless they start producing. Hopefully we can see some things improving here. Once again, since he's out of this thing, Baltimore, we don't know what's going to happen.
And so for the time being, look at your Browns.
Second place, and I'll take a look at these Brownies, baby. Hey, listen, you never know, man. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's likely, but maybe the Steelers drop a couple of games here, and maybe we make a run at this thing at the end.
Things get
Again,
crazy.
Highly unlikely. Crazier things have certainly happened. I don't think it's going to happen, but nonetheless, it would be great if we did. And then, do we have my graphic at all, Kevin? My predictions.
We went over it earlier when we were talking about.
Oh yeah, that's right. We did already
the schedule,
that's
but.
Right.
To officially record for posterity that you are 9-2 on the season.
9-2, yeah.